Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of We Believe to You, a paranormal podcast. I'm Michelle.
And I'm Eric. And today we have our first anonymous guest, right? Or
Yes.
interviewee. Yeah, they
Yeah.
they they reached out to us, or she reached out to us, and she said that she wanted to share some stories with us, but asked to remain anonymous. So it's gonna be our first anonymous interview. So guys, just in case you want to be on here, but you don't want people to know who you are, we can definitely leave your name out of it. I don't think we're cool enough that we can change your voice, but we can definitely not mention your name, and any information you want to share after that, it's up to you. But yeah, it's a thing we do.
Yes. Yeah. Well, before we get started with that interview, I was just gonna do like or tell you two quick little experiences, I guess, and maybe they're nothing, but they're something to me. Um, but so I don't think I've mentioned it on the podcast, but my cat passed away. I guess like about a month and a half ago now. Um, but anyway, I made like a little shadow box with like his picture and like his little paw print and like little chunk of his fur and stuff that they took from me. Anyway, it's up on like the entertainment center like shelving stuff that we got going on,
Mm-hmm.
and just randomly out of nowhere, one of
It
our
fell over.
dogs. No, that would be very sad. I probably would have cried.
Um,
But no, but the dog just started barking at it,
mm,
Leia, and would just bark incessantly at it. And we're like, what the hell? Like, it's because it's been there for a while.
yeah,
And, like, so I have like sugar skulls or like calaveras like everywhere. So we're like, oh, maybe it's the skull, even though that's been there since the day we moved in too. So we
mm-hmm.
showed that to her, and she's like, no, whatever. Like, it completely ignored us and just kept staring at the picture in the frame and kept barking at it. And finally, we like brought it down for her to like look at, and it was like, it's just a picture. And then she's like, okay, whatever, and like walked away, and then we put it back up. But like, I was already missing my cat, and then she like went and did that, and I was just like bawling even more. So that
Mm-hmm.
didn't help. And then I want to call it a visitation dream from him for my cat, um, because like literally, yeah, he jumped on the bed and I like tried to grab him, like, holy shit, like, you're here, and I could feel like he felt exactly the way that I remember him feeling,
Mm-hmm.
and he was like, I guess he went like over my pillow, like over my head, kind of trying to get closer towards like Carlos, and then Carlos felt him starting to like walk around, and Carlos was like, oh hell no, and so he grabbed him and like pushed him off the bed,
In the
but as
dream.
he in the dream,
Oh, okay.
but as he like pushed him off the bed, like Finnick was like, oh shit no, and like dug his claws into his chest and just scratched the shit out of him like as he fell down, which is like something that would have happened. But the dream was like so real that as soon as like Carlos like pushed him off, and I heard the thud of like the floor him
Mm-hmm.
hitting the floor kind of thing, and not hard, but just
You woke up.
I woke up and I'm like, he's here. And I like looked around and like waited a second. And I was like, he's not. And then I started crying, of course. But then the following night, after having that dream, we're in bed, and I'm like, I always put my glasses on the nightstand next to me, and I'm just like still thinking about that dream because of how real it was, and uh, turn off the lights, roll over, like getting ready for bed, and then all of a sudden my glasses just like they don't just like fall off the nightstand, they like fly off the nightstand, like they do like one of those little, like they landed like a solid like foot and a half away from
Mm-hmm.
the the nightstand. And Carlos is like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm literally just laying here, like I didn't touch anything, like, and I put the flashlight on my phone and I'm like, oh, it was my glasses, but like I didn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like, I don't know if that was necessarily a kitty or if that was just something else, but it was a little thing. And yeah, those are my little experiences that I had that to me they meant something, but
Mm-hmm.
maybe to others it'd be like,
Wouldn't
it's
it
just a
have been
dream.
crazy if Carlos woke up and had his like an actual scratch, like actual tiny scratches on his chest?
I checked his chest like that night. I swear, no, I shit you not, because like I told him I texted him what had happened, like, later that afternoon in the dream, and then at night, like, he was sleeping shirtless kinda thing, and I like, told him the dream again, and I, like, touched his chest. I was like, "I half expected to, like, see scratches on your chest," and I, like, looked, and I was like, "God damn it, no." There is no scratches.
Yeah, I remember when
But
Valeria and I lost our first cat. Um, it I would be laying down, and then when I would wake up in the mornings, like I would always feel like she was laying in the spot because she would lay like when I was by myself and
mhm,
sleeping in my bed, like I would sleep towards the middle. So then she would always sleep like at my head, but like in
mhm.
the small little corner of the head of the bed. So like
Yeah.
I would wake up and I would literally turn over on my pillow and she'd be right there. So
Mhm.
like for the first maybe week or so, um, I remember that I would wake up and then I swear that I would see her and feel her like laying at my head.
Yeah.
And then I would realize, oh, she's not there. I wanted to ask you real quick about the picture. Is the picture of him in the shadow box like super big?
It's like a 5 by 7 or 4
Mm,
by 6, like one of those, like a smaller. I
yeah,
honestly probably is smaller than 4 by 6 because the frame's not
yeah.
that big.
And did she
But
ever
yeah.
bark at him when he was alive?
Um, I mean, yeah, they would always all the dogs would like kind of pick on him and stuff,
Mm,
but they wouldn't like attack him or anything.
yeah.
But they would just like, yeah,
Uh, that's
like,
crazy
yeah.
though, especially the glasses flying off your.
I don't know what, like, if that was related or just something else, but the glasses thing kind of threw me off because it wasn't just like me noticing it or like me experiencing it, but like Carlos like hearing it too and being like, "What are you doing?" I was like, I like I'm laying here. Like we just rolled over, like settled in, and we go to sleep kind of thing.
Mhm.
And I don't know, they weren't hanging off the edge. They like it's not like the blanket was like caught underneath, and nobody was moving. Neither of us were moving. That's why he was like, "What are you doing?" Because we weren't supposed to be moving.
Yeah,
But I don't know. It was weird. I haven't had anything else happen, but
that's crazy.
I think pets come back and visit us because I know Izzy did too when she passed away. But
Yeah, I had really bad when the cat that lived here passed away. The one that
Blue,
yeah, the one that you and mom left behind.
yeah.
Yeah, when she passed, like I remember even after like months after she passed, I would have nightmares about that cat. Like she would come back and she would be like just like attacking me constantly
Well,
in the
you
dream.
hated her too, so
Well, yeah, but I mean, well, when she was alive, like we didn't like we just ignored each other. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
she lived that in the house and I lived in the house, but we never like
Interacted,
yeah, crossed paths or anything like that.
and now you have 4 cats.
Well, I mean, originally that wasn't my choice. Well, I mean, I guess after Lily passed, I told my now wife, at the time she was my girlfriend, you know, if whenever she was ready and if she wanted another cat, you know, that that was fine with me. And then, just because I didn't want her to be sad and I wanted her to be happy and stuff like that. And, you
Well,
know,
you need to have a conversation with Carlos because he's the complete opposite of you. And he's like, "No, no cats." And I'm like, "But I need a cat." He's like, "No cats." It's like, "Okay."
yeah, well,
And then
I
I
don't.
wanted to foster. He's like, "Okay, well," or I was like, "How about we just like foster cats?" And he's like, "I don't trust you to give them back." And I was like, "You're probably right."
Yeah. So we're completely off
Well,
topic now. We're
we're
talking
talking
about
about
animals and
dogs.
not paranormal stuff. So without further ado, I guess here's our anonymous guest. All right, guys. So today we have a guest on with us. She has asked to remain anonymous, so we won't be mentioning her name. We usually ask our interviewee to introduce themselves, but since she wants to remain anonymous, I guess let's just jump right in. Michelle, you want to ask your question?
Yeah. I know you have stories that you're going to share with us today specifically, but my question is, do you have a paranormal experience, like your very first paranormal experience that you remember, like as a child or maybe you're older, teenager?
Not as a child. I know that when we moved here to this house, this was my little brother was about 3 months. This was out in Booniland. The city had not grown as much. The voices, the sounds, everything that started happening happened after we moved out here. So
Okay.
yeah, but as a child, no. Now I do have an aunt. I do want to say, I do have an aunt that was a seer, talker. She used to communicate with the spirits. Um, I know when I did start messing around with a Ouija board, she strongly encouraged us not to do it. And of course, not being the type of person that listened, that was a big mistake. Yeah. But yeah, we've had our share of experiences.
Well, you kind of answered the second question that I always
Yeah.
ask our guests, which is, my brother, would you play with a Ouija board? And I guess it's a yes, but
No,
it was a
no, no, no,
no.
no,
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 no, no,
no.
no, no, no. It was a yes, she did, and then regret. So no.
The question is, would you play with a Ouija board, or like would you recommend people like it's a people thing? It's not like would
No,
you? She's done it. Would you recommend people play with a Ouija board?
It's,
no,
So
no,
that's
definitely not. Stay away
a
from it.
yeah. So
No,
that's a resounding no. Since we
that
want to be
very,
clear for our listeners.
very resounding. Yes.
yeah, we have this question going on because I'm curious, I guess you could say, to play with one. I've never done it, and I never would in an unsafe environment or with people who don't know what they're doing. But
Well,
we ask. Go ahead.
the thing is, and you said right there, unsafe. I mean, there's no such thing as unsafe. There is no such thing as unsafe. I can strongly don't don't. There's people out there's risk takers and everything out there, but this is one thing that you just don't want to deal with. It's not something that you would want to. It's something that stays with you. It's like as much as you see all these scary movies, you see all these horrors. It's like a lot of it plays on reality. It's not just something that's made up. A lot of it plays on reality, and it's not something that you want. It's like, and if it's for your sake, excuse me, if it's for your sake, because of your curious, you got to think about your family too, those that you surround yourself with, because it doesn't just stay with you, it carries on to others.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see you're getting a little. Your eyes are getting a little emotional. What is it that happened after you started playing, or after this incident that you played with the Ouija board? If you don't mind
Well,
us asking.
no. The thing is that when we moved out here, this was already, uh, if you like to call it, tainted land.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the Ouija board just intensified things. It just made things a little bit more. So that things happened, that um, because of the playing, the curiosity with that board. We tried to burn that board afterwards. After my aunt found out, then she's like, "Get rid of it." We tried to burn it.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't burn. It didn't burn.
Wow.
Um, we somehow that the thing ended up again back in the house under my bed. It's like we looked for it and we didn't. We left it burning in one of the barrels outside when we used to be able to burn out here. But either way, when we moved out here, it was all wooded, all wooded area. The city didn't start moving past Price Road until way later. We were way outside of the city limits. People were afraid for us because they thought like you were moving out to Booney Land. It's like my dad was all there's, it's not in the country. But we didn't find out till a little bit later that maybe maybe a 3 block radius, there's a cemetery out there. So the voices and the things that you feel outside, mind you, nobody lived out here. The highway wasn't even built. It was a two-way lane type of deal coming into town. But it's all wooded, all monte. You know, that's a wooded area. But the voices inside those woods, the voices you'd hear out in the wind, the voices at night, the voices, they were there from the minute we moved out here. The Ouija board just made the stuff come closer to the house.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Almost like a beacon.
Almost like a beacon. Yeah, that's a good, yeah, example of, yeah. Um, but but things things were obvious from the get go. The stuff mostly stayed around the outside, but it wasn't until sometime years later, that the inside also, the shuffling of the feet, the pounding, the voices inside also. We've always had pets, always, and the cats were the putrid smells. Sometimes the cats were
Wow.
always a good indication when you hear about, watch your animals, take care of your animals, listen to them is when you're involved in something. Yeah, they are good indicators of something is happening. And it was kind of like a off and on type button. Sometimes there's nothing visible, nothing that you could hear or anything, but all of a sudden you could feel it.
Hmm.
Mm.
And you're kind of like, and then when the cats refuse to go into a particular room, or the cats are on alert, it's kind of like, and the dogs are nonstop barking because of what they're hearing outside. Yeah, you kind of stop dismissing. You start kind of listening and
Yeah.
Yeah.
checking things out. Yeah, it's freaky. I was trying to, after I had said, it's like I was trying to think, it's like, oh geez, we haven't had a true episode in a while. Of course, we tore down the old house.
Hmm.
The house that we rebuilt on the same location. I moved back a little bit, and that kind of stopped things a little bit.
Mm.
Um,
Hmm.
I don't know. We were right on top of something or close to that made it more of a calling, beckoning type deal. But when I moved it, maybe house was moved back. The new house was moved back to maybe 10 feet. It kind of stopped things. They weren't
Hmm.
as ugly as they had been. Of course, the shadows, things that were still they were still out there, but not as ugly. They were not as scary. It was you knew it was there, but it just did a good or a bad thing. You know what I mean? It's
Hmm.
Yeah.
but
Yeah, you just mentioned putrid smell in cats, and I seriously, I got to chill down my entire spine all the way down my left leg. It was,
oh,
yeah,
why would you have
I
you
don't know.
been through something like this?
I mean, we've had our experiences. We've in the house that I'm in right now. We've mentioned it before on the podcast, but just real quick so you can hear it. It was just had some negative stuff, energy
Yeah,
stuff in the house,
yeah,
and we ended up having to do a cleansing, and that kind of seemed to make it go away. But
right.
just I never had the putrid smell, but I did, just have a lot of experiences in the house, and so yeah, I mean, I get where you're coming from in certain aspects, and just when you said that, and I mean, and you just know what that. I mean, if you know anything about the paranormal, you usually you know what that putrid smell usually entails. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, yeah. See, and that was the first time with that smell. The sounds, the feelings, um, the shadows, that we saw all the time. But that smell one time was just horrendous. It was out of nowhere. Of course, there was other issues that played into it, so it kind of like escalated
Escalated.
the thing. It was just that one point in time that really,
Mhm.
that's when everything, all hell broke loose during that time.
Was
So
anything else happening, like, outside of, like, these, I guess, like, haunting experiences that you can say, just, like, personally, like, in personal life, like, was it, and you don't have to go into detail as far as what was happening, but, um, usually we've noticed that, like, when there's chaos in someone's personal life, it intensifies, like, a haunting or poltergeist activity, or, stuff going on in the house.
that that's funny that you would say that. Throughout the time that we moved out here, of course, that was, I guess, our introduction to what we were supposed to expect. But after 30 some years, my parents decided, oh, well, there was issues going through that, and they were going to start going through a divorce.
Mm.
And that's when all hell broke loose. That's when the putrid, that's when the Last
I got that.
Supper thing that mom had, would swing off on the wall. That's when the cats went crazy. That the pounding on the walls on the outside. I mean, that one night that we had, I mean, it was major chaos that night. Um, when the realization is like, that you need to leave type of deal, and we were adults already,
Mhm.
but the mom, you just get him out of here, whatever. And that's when that's saying that night when we all like everything exploded in the situation with my parents. It's kind of like that's when all of that, I mean, blew out of proportion. I mean, it was crazy, and it stayed on for a while. I'm gonna say a week or two. It's like, and it kind of slowed down. It wasn't as intense as that particular night, but yeah, that episode brought everything to
Ahead.
uh yeah.
Mm.
Yes.
So
Wow.
so then I feel like we're kind of like touching on small like experiences.
Yeah.
Is there like a timeline from like when it started? I mean, I know you said it started with the voices like kind of like outside. And like is it like kind of like a storyline, or was it just like small experiences like here and there throughout like a certain amount of time?
Mm, I know that it went on. It was a continuous thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was a continuous thing all the way through until actually, the severity of it all. After my mom was very religious, very religious. She had we always used to say, and all our family and friends used to say, she had like a direct line, because anytime somebody needed prayer, anytime somebody needed some healing or something, we'd always tell them, I'll tell mama, because she would do her prayers and do whatever. And during that time, I was not very religious at all. I just had an issue with the
Yeah.
We
We
religion.
can
understand.
relate. Yeah.
Yeah.
We can relate.
Yeah, the Catholicism, it's like it's not until
Yes.
now in this day and
Yeah.
age, and that's because I tried several religions, give it a shot.
Mm-hmm.
But this day and age, it's like I'm finally starting to. The ADD kicks in, and those nuns were mean, the vicious, and the catechism classes. It's like So my understanding was, I'm lucky I even made my first communion, because I just could not grasp the concept of what they were trying to teach. But because of, well, after mom passed, which was, it's already going to be 5 years, um, things slow down. Things still happen here and there, but it's not anything that you are scared about.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like maybe somebody just watching over you, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
maybe.
I
Okay.
wonder.
Even the in-house spirit person that I used to see almost on a daily has kind of disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
My mom, even the cleaning lady, when she used to come, she would, if I see it, she would eat always, on the dining room table with her head down, because she didn't want to see. Because the layout the house, this gentleman would walk from the kitchen to the front door, look out, and then right in the front door, there's the living room was, and that's where I would just stay late and watch TV or whatever. And it's kind of like, and I could see him to
Mm-hmm.
the side. I could see him walk, and I could see him stop right there and look in at me. And it's like, but by then I was not afraid. But I would see him, but it's still kind of
Yeah,
left in
it's
the
not supposed to
feeling,
be there.
It's like, but he's there, and he'd walk outside. I mean, look out there like if he's watching. And then 2 minutes later or something, he'd come back and look again at me and go back. It's like, so when the lady would come in and clean and whatever, she knew there was stuff going on, but she said, if I see it, I'm out of here. I'm never coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she heard the noises, she heard the sounds. It's like, but she didn't. Well, I think maybe once she saw something, but it's like, it scared the crap out of her. But going back to your question, I'm telling you my ADD is bad. It just stuff that happened throughout, and it just
Okay.
continued to happen. It's like I don't know that there was a timeline or anything, or just they just happened, and sometimes they were just continuous, like every day, once a week. We just never knew when things would happen. It just did.
There's no like
And
rhyme or reason to it.
no rivalry. And the thing is, like that gentleman, it's like my weekends. If I wasn't out partying or out with friends or whatever, um, I'd stay up super late in the living room and watching TV, and that's when I would see every single time, and I would tell everybody, he's still here, and it was a man. I know it was a man. Um, he's still. Did anybody see him, or did anybody? And that was it. It was kind of. Uh, Everybody would hear the sounds and everything, but nobody really truly saw him.
Mhm.
They just knew that he was there. Of one of them that,
Yeah.
And
but
was it?
even
Go ahead.
even friends, when we've had, we've always been real social. We've always had parties, gatherings, stuff here at the house, and um, there's a gentleman friend of ours that he kind of feels senses.
Mm.
He's able to. And one time he was leaving us. I was outside in the yard, and this was nighttime because I'm out there with my dogs and whatever. And he came back and he said, "Do you have holy water?" And I already knew something because I can sense it every time that I'm outside. And I'm outside a lot because I like to be out there. But at all hours of the night. And he came back and he says, "Do you have holy water?" And he came back in. He says, "You need to." He goes, and he showed me. He goes, the hair on his arm and it was
Mm.
Mhm.
standing. He goes, "I'm leaving," and I got this ugly sense. He goes, "I had to come back." He goes, "You guys need to pray and do this and whatever." Of course, we would do it, and it's you're supposed to plant or put the holy water in the four corners of. I'm not sure what the thing is. There's everybody has a routine
Yeah.
or something you're supposed to kind of cleanse. Um, I know that several times we've done, a good friend of ours that's also very, very religious, came and cleansed it one time, and she left us the prayers and whatever to do. And when things got bad, we have a sister that we call the church lady because she's very involved in everything.
Mm.
It's like, Cindy, you need to do all this. You need to get the holy water and do. And every now and then we'll do it. We haven't done it as much lately, thank God for that. But yeah, the the stuff is still here. It's still we used to talk about it a lot with every time we gather with people. All the stories and things because they knew things would happen here. But lately these last actually after my mama passed, it's kind of like things really slowed down a lot.
Mhm.
And then of
Wonder.
course you have to understand that when the city annexed and the neighborhood finally there was only maybe four actual families on this road. It's a dead end street. So on this road. And then finally somebody moved across the street from us. And the lady, older lady, invalid, um, was a spiritualist.
Mm.
Mhm.
Maybe I'm not even. She used to read cards. She trained and met Walter. I don't know if you remember who that Walter guy is.
Merca- Mercado.
Yeah, they're Walter. Yeah, I just saw a
Yeah.
documentary on him.
Wow.
But anyway, she even met one of, I'm not sure which pope it was. This lady was well known. People used to come to her, and I would go because I know she was an invalid, and I would go over there, take her food or whatever, sit and talk to her, and she read my aura.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first time I heard of. She wanted to train me to do the stuff that she was kind of like here, like, and she was always sitting at the window in her bedroom that looks out to the front, always looking over at ours because she said the house is so full of life. There's so much. And the thing is, and we know because, my parents and whatever, this house, we always used to say it was like a subway station. People were coming in and out all hours of the day because we were always, social. Everybody knew that they could come here. Everybody knew it's like no matter you come in, you're going to sit down, eat and whatever, talk and enjoy whatever. And it's at different hours of the day and different, but she was always, the la casa tiene mucha vida, it's like, and she would, I want to show you how to do this. I want to show, and she tried to always um, stress that it was never for bad stuff. She would read
Mm-hmm.
cards with her, but it was always for good.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't know back then that there was even cards or all that. It's all bad for me. It's
Mm-hmm.
not until I mean, you're dealing with stuff that I'm not sure that kind of opening portal type deals. It's how can it be good when you're asking all these other saints and other people to help you, whatever, if it doesn't, if you're religious, I'm not sure. I'm like I said, I'm not too savvy on the religion concept, but every time that I'd go over and come back, something would happen.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
something, and my family kind of like, you need to stop going over there. You got to. But yeah, the shadows outside, the voices, the stuff, the feel outside, you could always. And the good thing, my justification was always like, but it's not coming into the house,
Mm-hmm.
so we're okay. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
mean? And like, how could I stop seeing this old lady? Nobody was bothered, visiting her. Her family didn't. It's like I was her only connection to the rest of the world. It was,
Yeah.
um, but yeah,
Yeah.
no, that was. I know I jumped off of what you were asking, um, but let
uh,
me give you an example of
uh,
one of the one things with her. Like I said, I used to always go out. I was always out with friends. But at night, I would always come and like, take care of my dogs, and I talked to my dogs. Anybody that could pass by, my sisters used to say like, "Ugh," there's that crazy lady talking to the dog. But when I was walking out in front, it must have been maybe midnight. Walking out the front and checking, I always call it checking the north party. I check the yard and everything. I felt something. You know how sometimes you get this feeling
Yeah.
like you're being watched,
Yes.
and you're being watched. It's like, and it's an intensity. And of the times that I tried religion, I know we tried the Christian uh, church in Harlingen, and we're kind of like, I remember one time they said, don't show fear. Don't you start your prayers or something. Do something, but you don't show fear and don't acknowledge. That's one of the things. Don't acknowledge. And I know, and the dogs are going crazy and they're barking up at the front of the fence. And then it's like something is not right.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of like, nah, I'm scared shitless. I'm gonna tell you, but in my head I'm thinking like, don't show fear, don't you? So I'm talking to the dogs like, all right, you naughty dogs, and who's the one that tore this and who messed this up and whatever, trying to get from the far end where I was at to like, I need to get back inside.
mm-hmm.
And I stopped because I don't have just one or two dogs. I've always, I used to do rescues, so I bring a lot. I had a whole bunch, and I'm in front of the house, facing the direction of the house of this lady that I told you. And then, of course, the rest of the property was wooded, and there's a black shadow that's there, like on the house. Something is on the house,
Mm-hmm.
but because we didn't have the security light at that point, and then there was only one back then. The city, we still hadn't been annexed, so there was only like one light a little bit further, so you can just barely see. It's barely lit up, but on her house, something was up there,
Oh, on
and
top.
on top of the roof. Yes, something
Oh
is up
wow.
there, but it's like a dark black spot type deal. Oh, you know what? And this is what I tell people. Remember the story, the movie Ghost?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
remember those dark things?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I call. I don't know if they were the shadows or darkies or whatever they call them, but it was something there with a shape of something, but black. And then I turned this way. It's like I'm getting more scared than what I already, with just the feeling and knowing that I was. So I'm telling us, all right, you guys, let's go. And I turned this way. Okay, whatever's up there flies down to the tree.
No. Oh no.
Flies down to the tree. And I'm getting goosebumps because we
Yeah, me
haven't talked
too.
about this in a long time. Flies down to the tree. Whatever is there materialized in like a human type form, and it kept going like this behind the tree and looking
Oh my
Like
god.
peeking
and
behind the
looking.
tree. Oh.
And I'm like, holy fuck. That was the last straw. And I'm like, God, it's like, it's like, so it's like, all right, you guys, let's go. It's time to go inside and whatever's
Yeah.
happening. So I came in and I was like, what? You guys, yeah, of course, everybody was in here watching TV. And I'm like, you guys, this, and they said, they're again, we told you not to. I didn't go anywhere. You know, I'm here in the house. I'm not, leaving. It's here.
Yeah.
Those are the things that we would, and one of my sisters one time was gonna go with me up to, or we used to, like I said, our parties and gatherings, we used to deliver the invitations late at night, get up on the middle of the night, go up the valley to drop off to relatives up in Mission, can trickle our way through. Um, and the noises and looking for the it's like a screeching type of sound, but
Hmm.
not birds because I know birds, it's like,
Mhm.
but late at night, it's like, and my sister's not, she's not here right now, but it's like I would tell him, like, tell him the sound, it's like, listen to what we're saying. We get close. The minute you get close to where it wasn't there. It was somewhere else.
Mhm.
And then it's like you looking, and it's like, let's just go do what we need to do. And no, she was like, no, I want to see what it is. It's like, well, yeah, but how are we gonna find it? We're looking everywhere, and as soon as we get close, it was like it was toying with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was toying with us, and we're kind of like the idiots that fell and tell us, like, just let it go. But that didn't happen just once. It happened several times. It was something else. The outside is well, I want to say interesting, but no, it's not interesting. It's
Interesting in a
sometimes
bad
scary.
way.
Yeah, sometimes scary.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That.
the ugly, like I said, the ugly part stopped
Mm.
a while back. Every now and then we'll get a like a reminder, like we're still here type,
Yeah.
Mhm.
but not as ugly as it was, um, that time when mom and dad were going through the divorce, and things had gotten really bad.
So
But yeah,
It
the
almost sounded like some lechusa type stuff there.
oh yeah, that's right. It's
yes, you know what, and
spooky.
that's what, and my mom used to talk about when she was a little girl. She encountered lich, and that I don't know about you guys and the stories, but back in the day, they used to tell, when they suspected somebody was a lechuza, they used to say, you know in Spanish, come tomorrow for some sugar and whatever. Back then the ration
Mhm.
was, she says, what did she say, azúcar and something. And sure enough, whoever showed up the next day, you knew that was the person that
Hmm.
was,
Mhm.
and she said that was it. It was you knew that don't mess with those people. But the screech,
Yeah.
those are definitely something you never forget.
Well,
Mhm.
so the house that you lived in previously before demolishing it was that already there when you guys moved in? Like,
Yeah.
did somebody else had already lived in it, or
Yeah,
like how old was
when
the
when
house?
that the house was two two old ladies, sisters,
The
Spencer
Chusas.
sisters lived there. They lived there, and it was just a stucco home, or like a little cottage looking
Mm.
style.
Mm.
Um, of course, Dad came in with, there was, big family, so he added to the house, and just, added, but the house was already there, and the two ladies, and it's funny because Dad, always with his stories, a lot of, because it was good property. A lot of people would go and, talk to the ladies, and they refused to sell to anybody. For some reason, they liked that. It's like when he was looking around, and they liked him, and they decided to, yeah, right on the spur of the moment, they told him yes. And that was, and even the guy, there was no realtors back then, but word of mouth, and where he was, they don't, these ladies haven't sold to anybody. They turned everybody away. um but yeah, it was just an old stucco style home, um with just one porched in area, a beautiful large porch area, screened, and the what we call the one bedroom that we made into a TV room later, but a one bedroom and just a small kitchen and a small little living area. But that was it. There was, and they never said anything. Of course, Dad would not have believed back then.
Mhm.
Dad was, scientist. Biology. He just didn't believe in.
It'd be interesting to see if, going into like the city records and stuff like that, to see if there was a man that lived there prior to that as well. You know what I mean? Or with the sisters or before the sisters or something like that, just to see
And
what is it
and
you
and
had
that's funny
seen.
because we had checked into it. Um, the ladies were the first ones here.
Mm,
So when they built, it's like if there had been anything before, it wasn't in any of the documents. I've gone to the city records to see, and I maybe I'm not doing it right or back then, but no, they were the ones that had put their house here. Um, Nobody it was wooded and they cleared up the land
okay.
to build their little house.
And the other question I wanted to ask was the activity that y'all experienced, was it, you said your dad added on to their stucco house. Did was a lot of
Just
the
intensify.
yeah, no, was a lot of the experiences centered in the original part of the house, the original stucco part, or was it throughout everything, like even the
No,
parts
no,
had
no.
built?
Yeah, throughout everything.
Oh, okay.
There was a point when my junior year I had started taking courses at the college to thinking that I was going to go into nursing. I had gotten my certification for CNA, and I had started working at the hospital. And it was out here in the valley. We celebrate Charo Days or whatever. It was a fiesta folclorica. By the time I got home, everybody had already left, and like, crap, I was already pissed. And so I'm like, I'm not gonna go and fight for the traffic and try and get parking just to get to the stadium. So I came straight home, and this was still the house before we tore down. So at that point, mom and dad were the only ones that had the small window units in their bedroom.
Mm,
So of course, I opened the door, which wasn't locked. It's like I opened the door, and all I did was put the latch, left the door wide open because we didn't have the air conditioning. It's like doors were left open.
Wow.
So I left from the stucco part of the house to the addition, which Dad had added down the steps, and he had 4 bedrooms. And I went to go sneak into my parents' room. Mom hated for us to be. You're the only one with the air conditioning. Come on, man. So I was in her room and reading. Of course, I used to read. Was I watching TV? I was watching TV in her room, and I was lying on the bed, and then I heard because down at the end of the hall with the 2 bedrooms was a door to leads to the outside to the carport, and I heard the car come in. Oh crap, man! I turned the TV off and turned the lights off, and because I knew mom was going to come in and it's like, what are you doing in my room? So, and that door was also with a screen and that it wasn't latched. So I went it's like, okay, no, I waited. I'm sitting there. His mom comes out, I'm reading. They never came in. 5 minutes later, it's like nobody's coming in. But I hear the commotion. I hear my sisters arguing out there. It's like that was us. I was yelling, screaming, talking, arguing about something. Nothing happened. So I went back to the door and there's no car in the carport.
weird.
That's weird. So I put the latch on, like that's gonna do anything. But I put the little latch on and went to the rest of the house and went to the front, and I can hear the noise outside again. The car like it had just pulled up again, and the slamming of the doors and whatever. So I went and there's nobody there.
Mm.
It's kind of like I just latched. This time I latched it and closed the door. I thought like, holy crap, and I kept hearing. And then after that, it was like, but we used to get the handle of the screen door and hit it because sometimes I would pick up the little latch,
Mhm.
and you can hear it's like, crap. No, I went back into mom's room and I locked myself in there. It's not until they came, it's like I saw them physically that I thought like, what the hell took you guys to? Did you just get here? Did you leave and come back? And no, we just came in. It's like, but this was like an hour later
Yeah.
after all of that commotion had happened. And I thought like, I'm not staying here again by myself at night.
Yeah.
This is, and I told them and they're like, they looked at me like I was crazy. But, everybody here went through, some kind of experience on their own. Most of the time, we would be together and be like, "Did you hear that?" And say, don't listen, don't But we'd kind of like, there it is again. It's like the shuffling of the feet at night. Every night, you'd hear it's like somebody's walking up and down the hallway. It
Mm-hmm.
was it was it was it was something. As a matter of fact, the addition, because we had pets, um, we had put a screen door between the house and the addition, the 4 bedrooms, and there was a screen door to keep the cats in that part of the house. And then mom had a pet rabbit, trained pet rabbit that used to, um, she would go into her cage at night, but we didn't want her coming out this way because mom said she would trip with her or something. But you could hear the screen open and close like somebody's coming
Ugh, walking
through.
through.
Wow.
Yeah, and this is inside. This is inside.
Yeah.
It was yeah. It was we had our times. Once you went into your room and you went to bed, it's kind of like to me, it's like I covered myself completely. I don't want to know anything. I don't want to see anything. I don't want to feel anything. It was yeah,
Did
something else.
did anyone ever get like attacked, like physically, like pushed or touched or scratched or anything?
I don't think so. Um, no, I don't think so. I
Okay.
don't. But well, okay, not pushed or anything, but you can feel somebody touch your shoulder.
Mhm.
Mm,
You can feel somebody touch your shoulder,
yeah.
or your forearm, like somebody's, as you kind of like, what was
Yeah,
that?
no one's there. Yeah.
I know my sister said one time that somebody was messing with her hair, but not ugly. That's why we never knew
If it was good or bad.
what it was. Yeah, good or bad, because we had the good stuff that were scary, but because you're not expecting.
Yeah.
But then there was times when it was kind of like, it's
Ominous.
not yeah, it was. So we could never tell what was actually
Good
what
or
what
bad.
actually was, good or bad, but there were several,
Hmm.
and the
Oh
goods
yeah.
were the ones protecting us from the bad, because um yeah, it just seemed like things could have gotten ugly. I think that whatever was here or came here with us, or after, somebody was watching out for us, because um it didn't let anything bad happen to us.
Mhm.
Hmm. Well, and that's what I'm almost kind of wondering if, because you said that stuff would never come inside, so maybe there were good spirits or good things kind of protecting. And then you mentioned that like when your mother passed away, that things kind of aren't as intense or don't really happen. So I wonder if she's like another added layer of like, don't mess with my family and
and
keep
and
stuff
and
at bay.
yeah, it has to be, because look, there's times when I tell my sister, we were talking about this last time. I said, are you guys not seeing? I said, and like right here where I'm at in the kitchen down this way, I said, I'm always seeing a shadow figure, always seeing a shadow figure to peripheral vision. I can see,
Mhm.
it's like, and I always wonder, if it's my mom. um but even the gentleman ghost man that used to walk has not I have not seen him for quite a while. And I was telling my sisters that, um but there is a shadow figure that I see a lot, all the time, at whatever different parts of the house that I'm at.
Mm.
um
Mhm.
it just, and then there's times, it's like my sisters, we have like a little, we didn't grow up the traditional Mexican type deals. Like, I know my great aunts and whatever, it's like, but we were not. It's not until we saw the movie Coco that we realized, Dia los Muertos type deals. Like, well, we didn't
Yeah.
celebrate. We celebrate Halloween big time. We used to have costume parties every year, and it's like, and they were huge. And when we had them here at the house, well, of course, a wooded area at night is kind of like, holy crap, people
Yeah.
would jump out of the fucking woods, and cars were driving by, and it was just crazy. And of course, it used to be caliche. It used to be, just a dirt road. but
Gravel.
but the deal is, because we have an altar, my sister started putting pictures of, friends and family, and they have a vase there for my mom that they change the flowers every time. I mean, it's always good. And I was like, did you smell that? It's kind of like,
Mm.
did you,
This,
it's like the
yeah,
smell of
flowers.
roses. The
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
smell, the smell of roses, and it's like they're not roses in there. It's kind of like, yeah. I was like, my other older sister, she has a connection with mom. It's like, Mama, was that you? Type of deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a shadow figure, and I'm taking it to, maybe it's mom.
Hmm.
I'm not sure, but it's not bad. But on the outside, you still feel, it's like
Yeah.
you get an
Yeah.
uneasy feeling.
Well,
It's kind of not
I
all the time, but you
yeah.
can feel.
Maybe
I mean,
it's like Michelle said. Maybe she's just keeping everything,
Yeah,
yeah,
maybe.
at
and
bay.
Maybe.
they say too a lot of the times that I say they, I don't really know who to quote here, but I've heard many times that sometimes like shadow figures aren't necessarily bad, but they are so early on in passing, I guess, that they don't know how to like fully form, and to fully form kind of takes more energy or to be able to fully form. So maybe she's just kind of popping through like a shadow. So shadow people aren't necessarily always bad. It's scary to us because we don't understand or we don't
Yeah.
know. So but yeah, I wonder if that's
And
kind of the case. Yeah.
Right. And this, like I said, this shadow is not. I don't feel anything from it, not compared to the one that was across the street,
Yeah.
um,
mm,
with at the lady's house. That one, yeah, I just, yeah, no, that one was not a good feeling at all.
yeah.
I don't know what it was when we rebuilt and moved the house, because that did cut down a lot on the ugly part.
Mm,
The feelings and the shadows and everything still stayed. The sounds, but it wasn't a scary, ugly feeling type deal.
Mm,
More kind of like they're here to stay. Live with it. It's kind of, well, I don't know what it is. It's out there, but or here, but it's not as strong anymore.
yeah. Well, I mean, that's good. And I have that feeling that it's your mom kind of is playing a part in that, and
Probably,
especially now
yeah.
that you also set up a um an altar for your friends and family, so
Oh
maybe
yeah,
even
that's
that
true.
is kind of like
Yeah,
pushing some of that bad stuff out. So
yeah. We
I
need
mean,
to think of
I
that.
yeah, I love that, and that's the feeling I'm getting. So we're gonna go with that.
for
um,
Sounds
sure.
good.
but it's been a pleasure hearing these stories. I can't even imagine what it was like to grow up in a
Grow up,
in a
yeah.
house. That's that. I mean, we had some stuff happen, but I feel like that's on another level. So
And I'm here, like, I know there's a whole bunch, because I know that, but and I'm trying to think of this ages, but I'm kind of like, somebody had asked, you see all these shows and bring people. We never did that because I was always so worried and scared that it might piss them off. You know what I mean?
mhm,
All this was going on, and my mom's first cousin, they like brothers. They grew up together. Recommended somebody that is oh, what the hell was he called? Um, I'm drawing a blank on the name. But he sent her over to. I think we took her to Rio Grande. He called us in, and we were in this room, and he had. I'm not too familiar with all these santos, but these santo type that have double cross, double, and I don't know. To me, that looked like, that's not
yeah,
Catholic. That's not
Mm-hmm.
religious. That's kind of a weird. These little things that they had there, the models, icons, statues. So this guy just goes on to get a piece of paper, and he's talking to us in Spanish. And he proceeds to tell us exactly what the layout of our house is. And it's kind of like, he goes, and I don't know specific, he was, but right here there's a window. Sure enough, that's a TV room. Right here there's a window. He goes, you need to go and check to see if there's any powder there. You need to check to see if there's, and this was like a few days after everything had started because it had continued really ugly. And sure enough, we came over. The man was right. We found footprints under and that, mind you, that we have the yard has always been fenced. So anybody that came in, there was footprints there under the door, and there was a little powder.
Wow.
There's no way this man could have
Yeah.
known. There's no way this man could have known anything about uh how the house looked or anything. We didn't talk to him. Nobody said anything. We went in there not saying, you tell us what kind of do, like prove that you have this power type deal.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, he said part of it is because they like put a they had dad under some kind of curse or something. They were trying to cause commotion and whatever. I'm telling you, even in that old house, the mom used to have mom had her crucifixes, and she had a Last Supper. The wall was stucco. I mean, you could hit, it's like right here with a frame. There's nothing. This thing next to you would unhinge from one side and just swing,
Oh wow.
Wow.
just swing.
Ugh.
So then I'm here like, this is pushing. I said,
Yeah.
so I put it back on there, go hit the wall and everything. It's like, and I'm pounding hard and
Can't make it
nothing's
happen.
moving. Nothing's happening.
Wow.
The minute I turn around and walk, it does it again. It falls off and swings.
Hmm.
So it's like, it's things like that we like, okay, you know what, maybe, set up an appointment. Let's go see this man and see what the deal is, and
Yeah.
what it is. But yeah, there was yeah, we went through a lot of that stuff. Oh, and then the freezing cold. This you only see in the movies. No, fuck it. We had
Yeah.
freezing cold temperatures. The temperature would drop, and then the smell. That's like, oh my god, it was crazy. It was a crazy
I,
time.
I
I
Crazy.
can't.
feel. I was just gonna say. I feel like we've like barely scratched the surface, especially now that you're
Yeah.
like talking about it. And we have our
Yeah.
guests say this a lot, that they don't start thinking about it, or like it's buried deep down inside. And then all of a sudden, once
Yes.
they start talking about it, then it's like story,
Yeah.
story, story.
Yeah.
It comes
I,
in right.
I think we definitely will need to have you back on, because we want to hear, but definitely write those down so we can get those stories in here, because we really want to we
Okay.
want to keep hearing more of those.
Of
But
All
course,
right.
really,
yeah.
but you really had. I mean, there was a few times in there where I got
Chills.
chills
Yeah,
all throughout the
for
spine.
sure.
So we want to thank you so much for being on here with us. We appreciate you giving us the time, your time, to be on here, and yeah, and for reaching out
Yeah,
to want to be
definitely.
Yeah,
interviewed.
and
We
it was
really
it wasn't
appreciate that.
it wasn't because I saw your dad's thing, and it's like, and the interest is still, don't do it,
Oh
but
yeah.
I wonder what they're up to. I don't know what this podcast thing is, whatever, but
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, it sounded interesting. So I thought, like, yeah, we haven't talked about our stories in ages, so it's yeah.
And
Yeah,
like I said, we'd love to hear more. So definitely, if you do remember some, write them down for sure,
Okay,
and let us know, and we'll definitely have you back on so you can tell us more of those stories.
for sure.
sounds good.
Thank you
All right.
again. Appreciate it.
Thank you for
Thank you
having me.
so much.
Of
Appreciate it.
course.
Bye. You guys stay
Bye.
safe.
You
Thank
too.
Bye.
Bye
you.
bye.
You too.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, guys. So that was our anonymous guest. What do you think? What did you think of her stories? I
Not
know
not to
that.
be confused with QAnon.
Yes. No. Not QAnon. Although it'd be super interesting to have someone that believed in QAnon. Not that that's paranormal, but just to like hear them talk nonsense.
I don't think there would be much talking. I think it
Not
would be
on our
more
part.
arguing.
I mean, probably. Um, but anyway, yeah, I know that the story about that shadow on the roof swooping down, peeking behind the tree, like that. That one like gave me full body chills, and I can't, like, it's still burned into my brain. Like I can still like imagine what
Yeah.
that would look like.
Yeah. I honestly, like, my head's already going crazy, and I just hope I'm not thinking about these things before I go to bed. I'm also super curious about like the man that she was seeing, because I know she said that those two ladies were like the first people there.
Yeah.
I just wonder. I mean, because if like I feel like back then, I don't know how great the records were. Although I have looked at records before, and I know they do date them back a
To like
very long
1800s
time.
and shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm sure there's records, but I don't know how great the records were. So like if they had some man living there at some point, and they just didn't know about it. But the thing is, she sees him in the new house that they built too, as she was saying. Not as often, but she says she does see him. So
Yeah.
I'm curious. She said that they built it 10 feet back from where the original house was. So it's not that far. So I'm wondering if she doesn't see him as often because if it's like a residual haunting, like if he's
Yeah.
just not in fully
Getting
in.
all the way to, yeah,
Uh
into
huh.
the new house.
Yeah.
Yeah, cuz that was what I was wondering when she told the story. I was like, "Oh, okay, you see him walk the same path, residual." But when she said that like he would look back at her, like acknowledge
Mm-hmm.
her, and I was like, "So is he acknowledging you, or maybe is that just like
His
he's
pattern.
acknowledging somebody else maybe that was sitting in the living room area,
Mm-hmm.
that he's acknowledging." So yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. Um, and also just the fact that she said like everything kind of like stays outside the house, so it's
Yeah.
okay. So I mean,
It almost makes me wonder too. And I mean, I didn't say this to her, but like if there was maybe something buried under the
that
house.
house,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like again, like we talked about with on Dad's episode, like a totem or
Hmm.
something, like to like curse, maybe to curse the ladies. And maybe that's why they were so eager to,
Sell when the dad came along.
yeah. Or did they do something when they
I
sold
was
the
gonna say.
house?
I mean, two older women living together, like usually isn't that like a? She
Yeah.
said sisters, right?
I don't know if
Or
she
maybe she didn't
mentioned.
specify.
I assumed sisters also,
Yeah,
so I can't think of another reason why two women would be, especially back
really, you
then.
can't.
Well, back then,
I
well,
mean, I don't know.
I guess if
Just
they
had
were
to be hidden
witches.
about it.
Oh, true.
Uh,
Well,
Our brains went to two
yeah,
different things. But I mean, witches, yeah. I mean, they can be because I was like, it'd be cool if they were both lechuzas, just like
yeah.
two, like a house
And
of lechuzas.
they were coming back to that other old lady's house because they're like,
Yeah.
oh, this lady wants to,
It's like
you know,
only two lechuzas can be in this territory at a time.
yeah. But like she was supposed to be like a good
A
person,
good
like that
witch,
helped,
yeah.
so like they were bad witches and they were trying to
Yeah.
come at her. Oh my god. Just made a movie.
Oh my gosh. Well,
Um
and I think like a lot of the time though, people forget this land was inhabited before with natives. You know what I
yeah.
mean? So and I know that um
This was
when
technically
there's
part of
like
Mexico also.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So I mean, it could be more of like a Native American, and I'm not trying to, not that whole like Indian burial ground trope. Like that's not what I'm getting at all.
Hmm.
I mean, I just know
Although
that. Yeah, I
they
mean,
have
I know
found a
there's.
lot of graveyards under some buildings, like just back here behind the house where they supposedly
Yeah,
found a bunch of graves,
I remember that.
unmarked
Yeah,
graves.
yes, yes, that's true. But I just don't want to feed into that trope because I think it's just like overused and just an excuse for everything.
Yeah.
But um, but yeah, I mean, I know that Native American spirits aren't necessarily always human, or they can kind of change.
Hmm.
And I mean, I know that that's kind of what they were thinking with Skinwalker Ranch. I
Mm.
mean, a lot of those stories, like Skinwalker's period in general, is more of like a native thing versus, I don't know, white people American made thing. If
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But I
so like that.
mean, it was, and like I said, she was definitely starting to, we'll probably need to have her back on, and or hopefully she can send us in some of those other stories for the stories of high strangeness, because I'd like to hear more of those experiences that they had.
Yeah, and I think that was a perfect example too of like when you start finally talking about your experiences, all of a sudden they start flooding back to you.
Mhm.
And, we got some of those more towards the end, and then we ran out of time. But yeah, hopefully she can be back on soon.
Again, guys, if you want to be a guest or be interviewed, or you want to share your stories with us, remember that you can go visit our website, and webelievedyou.com, and you can go ahead and through our contact us, you can send us a message through there, or you can go to our social medias, which are also on the website, and you can send us a message through any one of our social medias. And you can also listen to the podcast on the website and click on any one of your favorites, whether it be Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, any one of those, and go ahead and give us a listen on there. So don't be afraid. Click that button. Remain anonymous if you want, but share your stories, because we believe.
Do you?